Welcome to the show, guys. Joseph Reber-Camo, the fantasy football counselor. In this video, we're talking about 5, guys. That's 5 players that I love going into fantasy football 2022. Got a fun episode. I don't get too emotional. Well, I shouldn't say that. I get really emotional, but when it comes to loving certain players, I don't get too attached. But I got 5 players I love going into fantasy football 2022, the early list. And you know what else I love? I love this Mac Jones signed helmet. I think this is an official youth helmet. As you can see, real insulation here. We're giving this away this month. I've also got the Dalvin Cook signed speed helmet to give away as well. To enter, guys, very, very simple. It's very simple. You automatically enter it. It's free. Auction, pristineauction.com, right down below. pristineauction.com. Sign up, use code SWAGLION. Go do that right now. Pull over in the car. pristineauction.com. Use promo code SWAGLION. You're entered for these beautiful draws moving forward. There's a ton more draws coming your way. You're entered for all of them moving forward. All you got to do is create an account with that promo code SWAGLION, and you are all set. Go do that right now. Draws are done every couple weeks, and I announced the winner in my Instagram story mode. So make sure you guys are following there. Okay, guys? Now, let's talk about this, all right? It's very, very important that we start talking about players and prospects before, everybody else does, because we want to talk and project forward and be ahead of the curve all the times. And in order to do that, you got to get the 16-round draft solution. I've also linked that below. You can pre-order for the lowest price. And leave a thumbs up, guys. Helps the channel. So I'm going to go over 5 players I love right now, but also in the comments, guys, I want to make it interactive. I want you guys to comment who you guys love going into this season. All right, guys? Now, you're going to say, well, Joe, the guys that you love are, Captain Obvious. These guys are good players. Yeah, but I love them. You know what I mean? And there's going to be a ton more episodes where I'm going to talk about sleepers, talk about breakouts, talk about late round steals. All that's coming, guys. But again, we're just talking about just players I love. I'm in a loving mood right now, and I want to talk about it, all right? So let's just talk about it. Now, let's talk about the quarterback. Now, we're going to talk about ADPs and values. We don't know all the ADPs yet because we got to do mock drafts. We got to wait till the Sheeps lay out their rankings and everybody in the sheep herd follows them. Then we get to know what the sheep is drafting, and then we could beat that, right? But again, we're just talking. We're having fun. So the first player I love, guys, is Justin Herbert. Now, here's the deal with Justin Herbert. I think I loved him a lot more last year because I think I was going to get him for value. I knew I was getting him for the 5th round. But this year, I think he's going to be higher up on the ADP. So I may not love him as much because I'm all about loving the player, but getting him at value as well. Yes, I love him going into next year. He finished 2nd amongst quarterbacks. The problem is he's now on the Sheeps' radar. So are the other players I'm going to mention here, but I still love them anyway. So Justin Herbert, though, here's the deal. I love him. I love the talent. He's still young. He's still got opportunity to really grow. And what I love about him the most is the yardage. He throws for a lot of yards, 5,014 yards. That's phenomenal. 38 touchdowns, 15 interceptions. Consistent as they come. When we look at fantasy points, he finished 2nd, only behind Josh Allen with 380 points. A guy I projected. Do not waste an early draft pick on Lamar Jackson. I said, do not invest an early draft pick on Pat Mahomes. Even though Pat Mahomes finished 4th, I got Herbert in the 5th round. Did great for me all season long. I think he had like 1 or 2 dud games. But, I mean, nobody's perfect. So, I still love Justin Herbert. Will I pay for him? That's the big question. Will I pay for him in drafts? Probably not. We're going to have to see where he falls. But I'm assuming he's going to be a 2nd or 3rd round pick. You got to know when to hold him, know when to fold him. And there's some value picks at quarterback. I think Russell Wilson has a bounce back week, this year. So there's going to be other value to get. But as of right now, I mean, Justin Herbert, I still love him, love the talent, okay? Let's move on to running back here. Now, there's 3 running backs. I love the running back position so much. I had to name 3 running backs I love going into this season. Now I'm going to do other episodes as well where there's other running backs I love. But I'm very, very picky with my selections. But again, I might have to pay too much for these guys this year, so I may not have them on my roster, or I may get them if I have an early draft pick. I may grab one of these guys, but it's very unlikely that if I'm drafting end of 1st round, if in a 12-person league, that I might get one of these guys. So I'm going to be very disappointed. So the first guy I love is Jonathan Taylor. Now, here's the thing with Jonathan Taylor. There's always a but when I say I love these guys, but there's an issue. So the issue with him is he's coming off this phenomenal pinnacle year where he had 332 attempts, which I love attempts. You guys know me. I love the workhorse running backs. 1,811 yards, okay? 18 touchdowns. Is he going to duplicate that? If he stays healthy and they give him the volume and he keeps going, yes, there's potential there. Yes, he could definitely do that. Now, the problem is it's very rare, guys, that, a running back or any position for that matter duplicates those numbers on that type of scale, on that type of high level. So that's a concern to me, right? That's a big concern. Either way, I still love him, love the talent, love the opportunity. And there's literally like a handful, like literally like 5, 6 running backs, maybe even up to 8 that have minimal committees, and Jonathan Taylor's one of them. So I absolutely love that, okay? And again, this is no particular order. Next guy I love is Derrick Henry, and I think I like him a little bit more than Jonathan Taylor, due for a bounce-back year. I still feel Derrick Henry has one more good year out of him where he's going to produce to, a top-tier level, record-breaking level, where I think he has 2,000 rushing yards. The talent is there, and I've mentioned it in other videos. Derrick Henry had 219 attempts. Okay, guys, let me repeat this. 219 attempts in 8 games, which actually put him 10th, top 10 in rushing attempts, and he was on IR after week 8. And it's very rare he gets hurt. He's a monster. He's a beast. And, sometimes these foot injuries, they linger, and that could be an issue moving forward. But in regards to Derrick Henry, I absolutely love him. And I think that if everything goes well medically, if that foot is 100%, and again, like I said, these injuries linger. That's the only thing that's bothering me. If he's good to go and we see that, then I'm good for Derrick Henry moving forward as my first overall pick. Yes, first overall pick next year. I absolutely love him. Love the volume. Love the work ethic. Love the touchdowns. I mean, he had 10 touchdowns in 8 games, right? That's what he's pacing. He's pacing a touchdown a game. So I'm almost guaranteed, that touchdown. I'm guaranteed that workhorse volume. That's what I love. So again, so far the first 3, like I said, Justin Herbert, Jonathan Taylor, Derrick Henry. I think Derrick Henry's got that upside because he's bouncing back. Taylor coming off a pinnacle year. Is he going to stay healthy, or is he due for an injury? We see this all the time, guys. We see it. So many people drafted CMC a couple years ago, off his big year. And I said, be careful there. Sure enough, he gets hurt. So it happens, guys. What goes up must come down. So those are the 3 guys I like. Let's go two more. Next guy, and I got question marks about this guy, is Naji Harris. And it's not based on work ethic, talent, all that stuff, and ability. It's more on who the quarterback is going into the 2020 season, right? If Big Ben's gone, we might see a regression here in his receptions where he had, 94 targets, 74 receptions. We know Big Ben liked to use his running backs as outlets. We saw that with Le'Veon Bell through the years. He consistently uses them as receiving targets. And, Naji Harris was a guy that caught a lot of balls. He only had one fumble all season, and it was in the off season. It wasn't even during the season. It was like during the playoff game where they lost. So literally the guy has good ball security. He's solid. The volume is there. 307 attempts, 1,200 yards on the ground, 3.9 yards per carry. Not the greatest, but we're talking about a guy who was with an O-line that absolutely sucked, okay? And his receivers were banged up a little bit. They lost Juju, Deontay. He was pretty good. Claypool, I don't know. I mean, I would say if they got a good receiving core, they improved that O-line, and they got a quarterback that throws to him. This guy's a top running back, easy. But there's so many question marks in regards to quarterback and O-line. That's what's bothering me right now. I think the receivers are pretty good. I think Deontay, Claypool as a deep threat. They got Pat Freiermuth at tight end who's catching the ball. They've got their targets. I think there's enough to distract the defenses, to avoid some stack block situations, but I still think Naji Harris needs a good O-line. It's going to help pump up his numbers because there's huge, capability here with Naji. Young, strong, amazing work ethic, okay? So that's number 4. Let's throw in a wide receiver here in the mix. And again, I may not get him because I wait on wide receiver. That's the thing, guys. I wait on wide receiver, and we saw it this year, and I'm going to keep emphasizing this. Wait on wide receiver. Jamar Chase was ranked 60th or something like that. I think he was actually 50-something. But he was ranked like 50th amongst wide receivers in rankings. The mainstream were sleeping on him, right? They're telling you to draft, DeAndre Hopkins early. All these guys that busted, right? Amari Cooper, A.J. Brown. Guys that, I told you to avoid. Wait on wide receiver. There's Jalen Waddle, who finished, 13th amongst wide receivers, right? There's other value. Amon-Ra St. Brown, who finished 21st amongst wide receivers. Now you say, well, 21st, Joe, that's not very good. He was going undrafted. He was stashed on my bench. And he beat Terry McLaurin, Amari Cooper. He beat A.J. Brown. He beat a lot of people. Who else did he beat? DeAndre Hopkins. He beat a lot of people on fantasy points, and I was getting him for free. So here's the deal, guys. You can wait on wide receiver. So the fifth guy I'm trying to get to and allude to is Jamar Chase. I absolutely love him. I love the fact that he had 1,455 yards in his first season, and the targets were there. I'm all about targets, and I can't express this, guys, enough to you. I am all about targets, and Jamar Chase had a fair amount of them. And here's the deal. He was 17th in attempts. Well, Joe, that's not a lot. But here's what I love. He performed with 304 fantasy points, and he was 17th in targets. So you know what that tells me? This is why I love him. I'm trying to get to the point. I'm building up. There's more ceiling to be had. Okay, that's the point I'm trying to make, right? Where you had a guy like Cooper Kupp, 191 targets, right? 439 points. Jamar Chase can get those targets. If he gets those targets, he could really, really boom this season, okay? I absolutely love Jamar Chase this year. I'm telling you, finished 5th amongst wide receivers. A ton of upside, guys. A ton of upside. Although, again, his ADP is going to be high. You're going to have to pay for him. So if I am going early wide receiver, which I'm probably not, Jamar Chase is definitely a guy you want to consider. Consistent, solid, strong, going to get the targets, and has got that rapport with the young quarterback in Burrow. Super exciting. Absolutely love the talent, love the opportunity, love the upside. Again, 128 targets, guys, 81 receptions, and he still finished top 5, and he was 17th in passing attempts, okay? That's insane. The talent is there. The yardage is there. The touchdowns are going to be there. I love Jamar Chase. I mean, I absolutely do. All right, guys? 5 players I love. Went over them, guys. Jonathan Taylor, Justin Herbert, Naji Harris, Derrick Henry for a bounce back, and Jamar Chase. Love these guys. Am I going to pay for them? If I get maybe, Taylor or Henry early, Naji early, yeah, sure. I'm going to pay for them. But very unlikely I'm going to land myself a Jamar Chase or Justin Herbert because their ADP is going to be high, and I don't like to pay for those positions very early on in my draft, okay? More on that in the 16-round draft solution, guys. I've linked it below. Make sure you guys get it. Get in for the lowest price of the season. Comment below, who do you love for Fantasy Football 2022? Love to get the feedback. Subscribe. I'm out. Appreciate you guys being here. Let's go strong. Fantasy Football 2022.